Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where you live around the world. Well, you may see that I've done a little bit of work. I wanted to chase down a little bit further, as is the way I want to develop the dome, by creating the angles necessary to have as a background or resource for the dome that we saw in the last video, the Quadradome. I made comment that the decision had to be made at some point that which dome I was going to make, but what was the leg height. So I've decided the one we've got at the moment, for better or worse, is going to be the version for the future, and anything that I do from here will be based upon this dimension or this model, and this, what we, as we know, we call the honeycomb. And you can see the number of angles that this has, and I've created the dihedral angles for each side, and as you can see they vary slightly in some cases, not much in others, but you need to know them so that when you go to do them, you may want to decide to have an average. There's nothing stopping you doing that, but one of the things that I noticed that in this particular version the differences weren't that great. You know, here you've only got like half a degree difference. Yeah, same here, 0.6 of a degree. Here, yeah, a little bit more, but not much. Well, no, that's only 0.6 degrees as well. So there's not much difference in the dihedral angle, and you may then decide just to go with a little bit of a inaccuracy, but you do so with for warning or for knowledge that there may be a tiny bit of compromise. Will it be enough to worry you? And that's the question. I don't know, because your end goals may be slightly more demanding than mine. If you go with a flexible cover, zero issue. Even if you have to, perhaps in a strut situation, you don't put any, or strut and hub, you don't put any angle on top of the struts at all, because it's unnecessary. So here we've got the, and even if you look down into the very depth of the honeycomb, you can see these angles right at the base. What would you use them for? Well, I don't know, but triangles have three angles. They have dihedral angles, and this is not all. You've got, what else have we got? Well, what else have we got is the surface with the angles. So in my previous video I said, how many angles do you need? Well, quite a few. Here, however, unlike the angles, dihedral angles, there is significant difference in the angles making up these the hexagon hub. Now, is that going to impact how flush we can have our hubs? Because in one other video I made, the greater the difference in the angles on the surfaces, the greater apparently the discrepancy in the how far the hub has to sit down before it becomes flush. Now, I haven't done this yet for this one, but I have. So I'll pop the hubs in, but I don't know what the end result would be. That's why I said I haven't done it. I don't know. But here is the hub sticking up above the surfaces. I'll just put a guide in along the axis of the hub. It's easier to do this when you're moving the hub because SketchUp likes to know what you're referencing to, and if it doesn't know, it'll guess, and more often as not, you get some weird result. So, hub, move down slightly, and that's close there. Hasn't dropped below any of the surfaces yet. Let's just jog it a little bit more. Maybe just one. No, two. Three. All I'm doing there, you can jog it, well, if that's the correct term, just by keep on repeating the amount that you're moving it. Once you've got the tool selected, or the item selected, and using the tool to move it down, as I did there, I hit 1, enter. Not enough. 2, enter. Without moving anything else, it'll keep on moving it in the same alignment. And about there is where we wind up going below the surface of backed out. So you can jog it up and down, zoom in, and you can see here now we're just starting to approach the surface. We've got a little bit of discrepancy there. This is probably the major one here. What's it like uphill? No, it's all pretty good. Okay, so we're happy with that, and I can now measure it. Roughly 3 millimeters, which is approximately what I found on, I think, this one. Maybe. But again, the same thing. All you need to do is to move it down, keep on going until you get to that happy point, and then you know what you're dealing with. 3 millimeters? I don't think that's too bad. The point being is that you keep on jogging it down or moving it down until it actually touched the, what you could say, the lowest point. These other ones will be certainly, well, will be down 3 millimeters, and this will be flush. So 3 millimeters in the scheme of things, I don't think is too bad. The aesthetics that I keep on banging on about as well, I think that's in the realms of fudge factor permissible. I will back out of that though, because I want to keep the hubs that we've got currently in their correct geometric positions. So let me just, I think that's it there, yes. And that's important to have these, and you can use these as reference. I don't use the I'm not too sure what it is, the within SketchUp for layers. I've actually imported this little application. I understand that this is a little bit more redundant in the later versions, maybe even SketchUp Make, but I like being able to switch items on and off at will in this sort of setup. If you go to, let's say, this here, you can go down to layers, and if you've got the correct understanding, but the use of this, you can do likewise with this. You can switch things on and off. So it's up to you. I, at this stage, don't have enough practice with this particular tool, so hence I use this one. It appeals to my simple way of approaching using SketchUp. Nice little tool. Okay, well that's it. Just a bit of a look at the number of angles required for their dome. And after all, we want to make this dome as easy to build as possible. I still like the idea of hub and strut, but I could convince myself without too much effort, to just simply go with the triangles, build them up and assemble them that way. It has a certain appeal structurally. I've got 2 or 3 different hub designs. The one that we're looking at the other day with the angled sides, it certainly does look good, but it's not going to be easy to build unless you've got good engineering skills, and if you can draw someone into your circle of your dome building friends that's engineering background, go ahead, that's great. But there's another way of doing it, and that's to make the circular hubs with the struts slotted with a metal insert. That means you can bolt that metal insert into the strut, and if you've got the correct angle, which just say for instance this is the angle, you have it cut so that it mates up to the circular hub. And all you need is I say this just off the cuff, all you need is a jig to hold them in the correct orientation, and they can be welded to the hubs, the circular, the tubes that you're using for the hub. And that way you get the combination of the angled hubs and, I think, in my way of thinking, a better and easier way of attaching the hubs together with the struts, because they're bolted through, whereas in the versions I've seen, they've got quite a sophisticated internal thread metal rod that has been bonded to the timber. As I alluded to in another video, I'm a bit concerned about people going down the route of building a reasonable sized dome and it not meeting good engineering practices. The one thing with bolts through timber, it's more definable, and any competent engineer can rate those much easier. The hubs, even my idea is that the welds would have to be done by a certified welder. Once that's done, everything else is straightforward, and a competent engineer would be able to design something up or certify something for you. Okay, prattled on that a little bit, but do be careful when you start getting up into sizes. I think this size dome would be easily built and be a strong dome, very strong dome, but the idea of the difference between human type energies or forces compared to what Mother Nature can give us, earthquakes and winds and snow, etc. It's very hard for the average human to think of just how much pressure can be exerted on a structure. Okay, that's it. I'm off. See you later. Bye.